Welcome back. Today we're really diving into the economics of how we get around, specifically the ride-hailing business model. For years, you pay your fare, and a slice of that, sometimes pretty big, 10, 15, maybe even 20%, just goes straight to the platform company.
That's the standard model. Yeah, extraction is kind of built in.
But what if a company just said no to that? We've been looking to the TADA app. It does ride-hailing, taxis too, and it's built on something called the MVL Blockchain Ecosystem Mobility Value Lab. This foundation lets them do something pretty radical, run on zero commission.
Zero commission. It sounds almost impossible on the surface.
Right. So our mission today is to unpack how they actually pull that off, financially and technologically. Because saying no commission is one thing. Running a huge mobility platform without that slice of every fare, that feels more like it shouldn't work. It forces a whole new way of thinking about value.
It absolutely does. And that zero commission policy, it's their big headline, right? It immediately throws up a challenge. If, everyone knows the big players rely on that percentage cut and TADA says drivers keep 100%, the immediate question is, well, where's the money coming from? How are they paying for servers, developers, marketing, all of it?
Okay, yeah, let's tackle that skepticism head on. If drivers keep the full fare, there has to be some other way they're generating revenue for the platform itself. They must have replaced the percentage cut.
They have, and this is the first really clever bit of structuring. Instead of taking percentage, which, let's face it, can be unpredictable for a driver depending on the trip length, TADA uses a flat platform fee, just a fixed amount per trip.
A flat fee, okay.
Think about what that means for the driver. A short $10 trip, maybe the old commission was $2. A long $100 trip, that's $20 gone. With TADA's model, maybe the fee is, say, 50 cents, maybe $1. Doesn't matter if the ride is short or long, expensive or cheap. The fee is the same. Static.
Hold on. So does that mean TADA makes decent money on lots of short inner-city trips, but the driver makes way more on those long airport runs or crosstown journeys? It sounds like TADA giving up the biggest potential earnings, those chunky percentages on high-value fares, just to get drivers on board. Is that the strategy?
That seems to be exactly the point. They're deliberately setting up their economy to make those longer, higher-value trips really attractive for drivers because the drivers keep almost all of it. That small, flat fee, it likely covers the basic running costs, keeping the lights on, you could say.
Right.
But it probably can't fund the kind of heavy R&D or rapid global expansion that the big percentage-based companies use their commissions for.
Okay, so the flat fee handles day-to-day operations, but it's not the growth engine. That must come from somewhere else, which I guess leads us to the blockchain bit later. But first, let's stick with the immediate experience. For the rider, for you listening, if drivers are pocketing more, does that just translate into higher fares for us?
That's the interesting part. It's a bit counterintuitive. Because the platform isn't taking that big 10-20% cut off the top, the overall cost structure built into the fare calculation can actually be lower. So the aim is to pass that efficiency saving on to the rider, meaning potentially more affordable fares compared to the competition.
Okay.
And TADA does emphasize transparent pricing, fares calculated up front. That's becoming pretty standard now, sure. But where they seem to be making up some ground, maybe generating extra revenue, is through certain optional features.
Like the smart call thing I read about. That sounds like it tackles the biggest headache in ride-hailing. Actually finding a ride during peak times.
Exactly that. Demand spikes Friday night, rush hour, after a concert, and suddenly drivers are scarce. So you, as the rider, you have an option. You can choose to pay a small, extra optional fee for the smart call. It basically boosts your request in the queue, makes you more visible to drivers, significantly ups your chances of getting matched quickly.
That's quite clever, actually. It's not like a general surge price multiplier on the whole fare. It's specific. A small premium you choose to pay for speed and convenience.
Right. And it's a revenue stream that sits outside that core flat fee model. It helps pay the bills.
Okay, helps pay the bills.
Yeah.
But still, building and maintaining a whole tech platform, that takes massive investment. It doesn't seem like flat fees plus optional extras quite cover that long-term picture. Which I suppose brings us to the really interesting part, connecting TADA, the app, to its foundation, the MVL blockchain.
Yes, this is where it gets foundational. The zero commission is kind of the hook, the shop window, but the engine underneath is the MVL Mobility Value Lab ecosystem. MVL's whole goal is to stop treating mobility like the centralized thing where the company takes most of the value. Instead, they view it as a cooperative network, a network where everyone involved, drivers, riders, maybe even vehicle owners down the line, can actually share in the value that's created.
So the flat fee keeps the app running day to day.
Yeah, keeps the lights on.
But the MVL blockchain provides the growth capital, the long-term fuel.
Pretty much. It shifts from the company extracting value to the network rewarding contribution. It's a different philosophy. It's not just about drivers and riders either. Think mechanics, charging station providers, insurers, potentially anyone in the mobility space.
What strikes me here is why blockchain? Why decentralization? Couldn't TADA just be a regular company, promise zero commission, use standard databases, and try to build trust that way? Why bring in all the complexity of blockchain and to pin?
It really boils down to trust, particularly driver trust. The entire zero commission promise relies on drivers believing two fundamental things. First, that the zero commission deal is real and won't suddenly change. Second, that any rewards they're promised for their data or good service will actually materialize fairly.
Okay.
Now, if TADA just used its own private centralized database, well, they control it. They could, theoretically, tweak how data contributions are measured or change fees without much oversight. They become the single point of failure or potential manipulation.
Right, the central authority problem.
Exactly. So MVL uses DePIN, that's decentralized physical infrastructure networks, and an immutable ledger. Blockchain, essentially. What that does is guarantee transparency. The moment a driver completes a trip or their vehicle generates useful data mileage, driving style, whatever, it gets recorded onto this shared distributed ledger. And the key is it cannot be changed after the fact. Not by TADA, not by anyone. It's locked in.
So the decentralization isn't just tech for tech's sake. It's actually a core part of the deal. It's like a trustless contract built into the system. It guarantees fairness because the proof of contribution, the data, is secured and transparent right away. The driver doesn't have to just take TADA's word for it.
Precisely. The data is verifiable, auditable. TADA guarantees the flat fee covers the basics, sure. But the driver's real long-term upside, their stake in the network's success, is tied to this secured, transparent data contribution. That's the crucial link.
Okay, let's make that practical. The data gets collected driving miles, safe behavior, providing rides. How does that turn into something tangible for the driver beyond the fare they already kept? What are they actually rewarded with?
Well, that collected data is incredibly valuable. MVL can use it to develop new services, think better insurance products based on real driving behavior or efficient fleet management tools, things like that. And because the drivers and other participants contributed that valuable data, they get compensated for it.
Compensated how?
They get rewarded with MVL tokens. That's the ecosystem's own cryptocurrency.
Okay, crypto.
Yeah, and these tokens are managed through a special crypto wallet they call Clutch. So it directly connects the real-world work, giving someone a safe ride to this digital tokenized value. This is really the financial piece that underpins the whole zero commission structure. The value TADA might lose from not taking commissions, they aim to regain and share through the growth of the platform and the value of the data ecosystem it enables.
Rewarding people in crypto tokens. That sounds innovative, sure, but how do they handle the practical side? Driver skepticism. When a driver finishes a long shift, they need actual money, cash they can spend on rent or groceries, not just digital tokens that might fluctuate in value. How does TADA bridge that gap? Make those tokens feel real and stable?
That's a really critical point for adoption, absolutely. The immediate concrete value is the full fare they keep that's cash in hand, which is significant. The MVL token is more the long-term incentive, like a share in the network's future success. For it to work broadly, two things need to happen. One, the token needs real utility within the ecosystem. Maybe drivers can use MVL tokens to pay for discounted insurance offered through MVL or for vehicle maintenance with partner garages, things like that.
Okay, creates internal demand.
Exactly. And two, there needs to be a relatively easy way to convert those tokens into regular fiat currency, dollars, euros, whatever, if the driver wants to cash out. An easy off-ramp. And the fact that MVL is explicitly building this wider network, connecting ride-hailing with electric vehicle services, maybe charging, maybe other things, that's key. The more integrated the network becomes, the more uses the token has, the more stable and potentially valuable it becomes. So that Clutch wallet starts feeling less like holding some speculative asset and more like a savings account earning dividends based on your work, a share of the value you helped create.
That completely reframes it. It's not just about paying drivers differently. It's an integrated loop, using tokens as an incentive to grow the entire network. So TADA, the app, is almost like the front door, the user interface.
Yeah, the entry point.
Into this much broader MVL ecosystem of connected mobility services, all underpinned by this shared data and token economy.
That's the big picture, yeah. TADA is really spearheading a shift. Moving away from ride-hailing as just a service sold by a company and towards it being an ecosystem that's kind of governed by this transparent, decentralized tech. They're essentially betting that the long-term value generated by network growth, data insights, and user loyalty shared fairly through the MVL token will ultimately outweigh the immediate profits they could get from just taking a big percentage cut from every ride. It's a long game.
So wrapping up our deep dive for today, what we've really seen is TADA throwing down a gauntlet to the standard ride-hailing model. They prioritize driver earnings up front with that predictable flat fee. And then crucially, they use the MVL blockchain, the depend system, to build this essential layer of trust and shared value. They're trading high margins on individual transactions for hopefully deeper network loyalty and sustainable growth fueled by shared data.
It's a really fascinating model, and it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? If these transparent, decentralized systems built on verified data can potentially reshape something as complex as urban mobility, if they can guarantee trust and fair earnings for drivers while keeping the platform running through things like flat fees and token rewards, well, it begs the question for you, the listener. What other huge industries out there, maybe logistics, the whole gig economy, freelance contracting industries that currently rely really heavily on opaque commission structures, centralized platforms controlling all the data, are they maybe ripe for exactly this kind of disruption? If the tech now exists, prove your contribution, prove your value without needing that traditional middleman extracting a huge cut. What existing roles, what intermediaries might just become, well, obsolete? That's the big shift TADA and MVL are putting to the test right now.